Welcome to the FCNB video series on the CEDC program. In this first video, FCNB staff will assist applicants in navigating the CEDC process. FCNB and the Department of Finance and Treasury Board offer a joint program for Community Economic Development Corporations and Cooperatives, or CEDCs, to help businesses raise capital from New Brunswick investors. It's an excellent tool to harness investment dollars from New Brunswickers to create jobs for New Brunswickers. For the individual investor, it's a way for them to invest in their communities and see their communities grow, while benefiting from a tax credit from the province of New Brunswick. Although this model is like programs offered in other provinces, certain elements of New Brunswick's CEDC program are unique. As a result, certain factors like RRSP eligibility and disclosure requirements may not be treated in the same way as outside New Brunswick. Because the CEDC program is set out in the local securities rule and in provincial legislation related to the small business investor tax credit, its benefits are only available to New Brunswick residents and New Brunswick businesses.
Hi there. We've made this video to assist potential CEDCs in navigating the program by walking you through what to expect in the application process and pointing you to tools and resources to guide you on completing an offering document. One of the program's key benefits is that it provides a CEDC with the potential to raise a significant amount of money without going through the expense and regulatory burden of preparing a prospectus document required for more traditional capital raising options. So a CEDC allows a business to raise up to $3 million in a 12-month period and provides investors with a tailored disclosure document. The program also offers significant tax advantages. For example, if a business raises at least $10,000 and the minimum investment by each investor is met, the investors may qualify for the New Brunswick Small Business Investor Tax Credit. Investors who qualify for this program will receive a 50% non-refundable personal income tax credit. This credit can be carried for 7 years or back 3 years. One thing to keep in mind is the hold period for investors. To benefit from the Small Business Investor Tax Credit, investors must maintain the issued shares for a minimum of 4 years. This can be a significant commitment and important to bear in mind when you look at how to structure and market your offering, as this requirement may deter certain investors. To qualify for the program, a CEDC must submit 2 separate applications, one to FCNB and one to the Department of Finance. These 2 applications move forward at the same time. The application to FCNB determines whether the CEDC will qualify for a prospectus and registration exemption from securities law. The application to the Department of Finance determines whether the CEDC can receive a certificate of registration and obtain the New Brunswick Small Business Investor Tax Credit. So let's go over the application with FCNB. This application must include all of the following: a filing fee of $350, the offering document, which will be provided to investors, the financial statements, any promotional or marketing materials, a background check for each of the officers, directors, and promoters of the CEDC, the CEDC's constating documents, such as articles of incorporation or continuance and bylaws, and the consent form for collection and use of the information provided in the application. The second application to the Department of Finance registers the CEDC with the province's Small Business Investor Tax Credit Program. The Department of Finance has specific requirements for this application, which can be found on its website. FCNB and the Department of Finance will work together during the review process, and information will be shared between both organizations.
We will now discuss the more detailed role in which FCNB and the Department of Finance and Treasury Board play in reviewing the CEDC applications. Since the CEDC program allows approved businesses to raise money from New Brunswick investors, FCNB must ensure you have adequately disclosed required information and the risks associated with investing in your CEDC. For this reason, FCNB staff review the applications with the following factors in mind: Are the materials you submit consistent with each other? These materials could include things like your offering document, the financial statements, the criminal record checks, the Community Economic Development Plan, and any promotional materials. Can you engage in the activities? Is the information provided fair and sufficient in detail to allow a potential investor to make an informed investment decision? This is important because we do not assess the investment on its merits or determine whether it is a sound investment. Rather, we examine whether the disclosure is adequate for a potential investor to make that determination. Does the proposed application meet the criteria set out in our local CEDC rule? Have you described your activities and proposed business in a language that can be easily understood by potential investors? And finally, have you properly described the risks associated with the investment in the CEDC? FCNB staff will strive to complete our initial review of your materials within 20 business days of receiving your application. As we previously mentioned, the Department of Finance will conduct its own review as to whether your application meets the criteria of the New Brunswick Small Business Investor Tax Credit Program. You should reach out to the Department of Finance staff for further information. However, you should think about the following, as these issues will form part of their review. Is the proposed business an active business? Does your proposed business meet the requirements of the Small Business Investor Tax Credit Act? Is your defined community properly identified? Is your proposed business a for-profit entity? Does your proposed business have authorized capital consisting of at least one class of voting shares without par value? Are the CEDC's net tangible assets less than $40 million? Will the CEDC raise at least $10,000? Is there a minimum of 3 investors? Has each eligible investor invested a minimum of $1,000? For further information, contact staff or visit their website related to the Small Business Investor Tax Credit Program. Here are a few points to consider when you are drafting your application documents for both FCNB and the Department of Finance. You may also want to seek the assistance of a legal professional in developing the documents. If your materials are incomplete, inaccurate, or inconsistent with either the requirements of Local Rule 45509 or the Small Business Investor Tax Credit Program, we will return the application for you to make changes. This will delay the approval process. Given the risks associated with these types of investments, FCNB staff will want to ensure adequate disclosure is included in the offering document to advise potential investors of the risks. You can find examples of typical risks associated with investing in a CEDC on our website. You may go through multiple drafts of your offering materials before FCNB and the Department of Finance approve your application. To expedite this review process, we suggest that you review your materials closely for both consistency and accuracy. You can also use FCNB's fillable offering document form found on our website. For additional help, you should view our video, How to Fill Out an Offering Document, which provides a step-by-step overview of how to complete an offering document. You can also find other materials on the websites of FCNB and the Department of Finance to help you prepare your application documents. Staff from FCNB and the Department of Finance are available to assist if you have further questions. Once you have met all criteria for the program, the Department of Finance will issue a certificate of registration, and the Executive Director of Securities from FCNB will issue a letter of non-objection. Once you receive these approvals, you are now able to raise funds. You will have 95 calendar days to raise the minimum amount set out in the offering document. If the minimum target is not reached, you will have to return the funds raised to that point to investors. This is why it is important to set a realistic and achievable minimum amount to raise. You must remember that once approved, you have ongoing reporting obligations, including submitting a report of exempt distribution 30 calendar days following the closing period and submitting financial statements on an annual basis.
We hope this video has been informative and will assist you in the application process. If you are interested in obtaining further information, staff from FCNB and the Department of Finance and Treasury Board are here to help. You may reach out to us or visit our websites.